Yep. I said it before and I'll say it again.
That scene, that last scene.
What does it mean?
I'm the dude, you know?
Get the fuck out of here. No, I cannot.
It's over. Go home. That final scene
Starts now.
Hello, we are back, and it's 9:30 p.m.
Yeah. We've been together for 3 hours now.
Yeah, it's almost bedtime
Yeah.
for me anyway. But we're gonna push through because we just sat through Lord of the Rings.
Don't say sat through. Sat through makes it sound bad.
That's true, but I think that's what Simon thought.
I was going to say, so yes.
We're
Did
gonna
you
have
feel
to
like
do.
you had to sit through it, Simon?
It's my first elven road trip film that I've ever
Okay.
watched. And I enjoyed it, actually. It's good to, like, be able to understand a lot of the cultural impact that film had that I've seen over the years.
What were your, like, preconceptions coming into watching the first one?
I thought it was going to be much more difficult to follow and require loads more brain power to enjoy it. And I was pleasantly surprised when I realized I could just sit back and just, like, let it all in.
Do you have a type of film that you expected to see instead?
Maybe a bit more labyrinthy or something.
Interesting.
Or what's the film with Willow? I thought it might be a bit more
okay.
willowy and harder to follow. But I was pleasantly surprised about how watchable it was and how like the clarity between good and bad is so distinct.
It's quite like it's quite like Star Wars in that regard, where it doesn't really, or at least the original Star Wars anyway, it doesn't try to blur the lines. There is very clear definitions of like good and evil, really.
Yeah, and no one has trauma that
No.
they have to unpack.
Yeah.
No, exactly. I mean, there is a bit of trauma there with Aragorn from his
Well,
lineage, but it's
yeah,
not shoved in
yeah.
our face of like,
True.
this is my trauma, this is what I should feel.
Yeah, I need to hold space
Yeah.
for my legacy. Did it help that you watched it with us?
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't have watched that film on my own. I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much either. Like, but you need a bit of banter to get through that. But I could have cut a good hour out of it and still enjoyed it.
Really?
I think so. Maybe
Interesting.
half an hour.
Yeah.
There's a lot of swooping running in the woods shots,
Yeah,
which
it's
I
good.
don't mind.
What I do like about it is that even though it's 3 hours, you can, to your point, you can skip a scene or two, but not because you're bored, but because some of the shots are just flex shots. It's not like you have to pay
It was
attention
like
for
I was
3
watching a
hours straight.
director's cut
Yeah.
all the way through.
Well, Simon, there is a director's
There is a director's
That was the
cut.
that is the OG version. There is a director's cut version.
How long
of
was
it.
that?
Three and a
That's
half.
Three and a half. Yeah.
Wow.
I think when you do director's cuts for all three of the films, it brings it over the 10-hour mark, I think.
Amazing.
Because I think they're all about 3.5 each. Like Return of the King, I think, is close to 4
Love it.
for the extended edition. Peter Jackson loves an extended director's cut.
I'm guessing you have seen it, right?
All the extendeds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
What extra bits we would get if we were to see the
I'm trying to
director's
think.
cut?
Do you know, it's interesting, like the director's cut, you get a few little bits of like, I don't know, exposition that you don't get. I think there's clearer ones in the second and third, which I just don't want to spoil anything for Simon, because we are going to do this as a
this
trilogy.
is a series. And
Yeah,
this
we're
is
gonna do
episode 1.
3 episodes, we're going to watch them all.
I had a great time.
Honestly, rewatching it has made me like, I'm just going to go and buy the extended edition Blu-rays, I think, so I can watch them and enjoy them at my leisure, and make Ellie watch them. Ellie, if you're listening, we will be watching.
I can do that, but in a year.
Do you know what? It's like this one would have came out when I was like 7, 8. And so like these are like my prime growing up, started going to the cinema films. Rewatching that there this evening, I haven't watched it in quite a while. I knew I was going to love it, but I forgot how much I enjoy it, and like how in that last 20 minutes, I'm still like, my heart is pounding. This is so exciting. This is so much like this fight choreography is amazing. Like I'm so fucking pumped. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe there's another 2 of these to watch. And so, yeah, I could easily probably watch that again next week. I'd watch the director's cut, obviously, because you do get more.
I was personally shocked by the violence.
Yeah.
I mean, this is 20 years old?
Yeah, 23 years old now.
It's a PG in the UK, and there's like constant beheadings, blood spurting out of like necks without heads on.
Yeah.
People dying with arrows to the heart.
Some fairly, like, and considering a lot of it is prosthetics and not CGI, some fairly scary looking monsters as well.
I don't know how they got away with it. It almost feels like a segment that
You
we
said
should
you
do.
watched that when you were 7.
Yeah.
I would have had nightmares.
7
for years.
That's crazy.
I think I probably did, yeah.
That's crazy.
I was definitely older. Like I remember being 14, but I don't know why. But maybe because it was kind of scary. My parents were like, "No, you're not gonna watch this."
When you first saw it, like
I remember, like, yeah, I don't remember being a child. Like, I think I was in high school when I watched them for
You're
the very
younger than
first
us, so
time.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I am. Oh no, I'm older.
Than Ben.
well, I'm almost 30.
I am 31. We're
Okay,
32
so
this
Ben's
year.
younger.
Yeah, so I am the youngest. Oh
Yeah, you're
dear.
the youngest.
Yeah.
The
But still, so you would have been what, like 9 when that first one came out, which is the age I would have been when the last one came out.
Yeah.
But wasn't your
I
mum
just think,
quite good at being protective about
I think so.
films and stuff?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. So maybe that
See,
was the
I had an
case.
uncle who just brought me to the cinema all the time, so my parents wouldn't have come to see that. So
Oh,
yeah, he
that's
would have
why.
brought me.
Yeah, it almost feels like this is a segment where we find films that were falsely
Well,
PG.
that is genuinely, like, I remembered how I have like real vivid memories of how scary I found the
Yeah.
monsters. I think I was maybe not even desensitized, because I wouldn't have watched a lot of like gory or violent films as a kid. I think I was aware that, well, this is all fake because they are all monsters that aren't real. So the beheadings probably didn't resonate with me then. But there's at least 2 incredibly clear beheadings in it. A guy gets his arm cut off, like
It was reminiscent of an Arnie Schwarzenegger film, like Alien versus Predator
Oh, yeah.
or something.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was that type of
a good
makeup, that type
comparison,
of baddie. Like,
very much, very Predator kind of vibes, of like big, like wide-eyed, open mouth kind of alien looking monsters. And
But I love the juxtaposition because at the same time you also have, like, to your point, as you said earlier, Simon, like Teletubbies aesthetics for, like, 20 minutes straight in the beginning. So I like
it was
how
like Raiders of the Lost Ark meets Teletubbies meets what I imagine Harry Potter's like,
yeah,
with a little bit of a
There
road
is a bit
trip
of Harry
thrown in
Potter,
for good
yeah.
measure.
there's definitely a bit of Harry Potter in it. I mean, the whole Harry, like, that's the first time watching it there, because I feel like I watched some of the Harry Potters recently, and the whole Horcrux thing in Harry Potter is very clearly seems like it's stolen from the Ring idea of like putting your soul inside an object, which is what the Horcruxes are in Harry
Yeah.
Potter. And this is the ring that is essentially his soul in it. I'd never gotten that clear link.
Yeah.
But it's clearly like, somebody read Tolkien.
You just see so many cultural reference points in the 3 hours that now
Yeah.
make way more sense to me. Especially film reference points. Like I saw a lot of Dune 2 like in there.
Yeah.
That has obviously been referenced.
Yeah.
Especially in the way that baddies are constructed.
Well, as I say, I think, and I'll be interested to hear your take on it when we watch the second one. I think Dune 2 and Lord of the Rings Part 2, especially their endings and the feeling you get, like just the pure feeling of like, oh, kind of, do I feel satisfied? How do I feel with that ending? Is the exact same. Because they are very much like, they feel like 2 of 3, in the same way that
Yeah.
I felt like Dune Part 2 really feels like, okay, there's like a really big movie coming. That's kind of how the second Lord of the Rings feels before the third one, which is obviously the big kind of ending and epic story.
I felt like Fellowship of the Ring, like the first Lord of the Rings film that we just watched, does a much better job at keeping you engaged. Like
Then the second one.
but no. I'm comparing the first one.
Dune.
So like,
Okay.
I felt like the first Dune was just set up. Like,
Yeah.
I just feel like we saw a lot with the first Lord of the Rings, and as I was telling Simon earlier, you actually get to relate to the characters. They're likable. You care for them.
Yeah.
You get sad about them. Like, I don't remember caring about any characters in Dune 1.
Same. It was like
No.
robots. It was like a Transformers.
It was very
Michael Bay
transactional.
type thing.
As in like, oh, we need to do this movie in order to get to the second one.
Yeah. Whereas
didn't
that
have
one
a-
doesn't feel like that.
Yeah,
that one feels
no,
like you actually
no.
build connection. Like some of the saddest ones about it is the fact that, oh well, we're not gonna get Boromir again
Mm-hmm.
because you build a connection with him over the film, and actually like it is quite a Shakespearean, the wrong word. Like obviously you get to the end and it's this character who's been swapping back and forth and has all these flaws, and actually when he dies you're kind of like, oh
I wanted
no,
more of you.
I wanted like more of you. I wanted more of
Funny
you.
you should mention Shakespeare there, because when you asked me the question at the beginning, what did you expect Lord of the Rings to be like? I thought it was going to be more like a complicated Shakespeare play, which I've never really enjoyed,
Yeah.
as a kid especially, where it was like one actor playing multiple parts and you were never quite sure who was who,
Yeah.
men playing women, whatever. It was just incredibly difficult to follow.
Yeah.
And this was not like that at all.
It's kind of structured.
straightforward.
It's kind of structured like a play, though. There is kind of like 3 kind of clear parts to it. Like there's that beginning out, like all the way up until the Rivendell scenes. Then there's Rivendell till the end of the mines, and then there's the ending. There's kind of Like there's a clear in it, and I think that's why it is so easily watchable. Because there is a like. I don't see this as a bad thing with the film. There's a lot of exposition. Like people to the camera telling you what is going on.
Yes.
Because there is so much going on.
It wasn't offensive though. Like,
No, exactly. And like the bit at
It
the start
worked.
and stuff, it works quite well, you know, that you get like 2,000 years. Like Rings of Power is basically doing the build up to the start of that film. Whereas the start of the Fellowship gives you 5 minutes of exposition and 2,000 years of Lord of the Rings history. And it's like, okay, you're up to date. Let's go. Like, let's fucking go. And it's really easily done, like it's, as you say, it's inoffensive. It's not, I think exposition gets like made fun of quite a lot in movies, especially when it's done badly.
I think, if you get really obvious spoon feeding exposition in, say, action films that are trying to be cool, that's really naff.
Yeah.
And you should be putting that together in your head. Whereas in this type of film, it's like a children's story in a way. And it's like you're reading a children's story.
It's pure
book.
fantasy
It's a hero
genre,
journey.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, do we want to do like a mini check-in? Because I think a couple of us have some quick records before we get into the final scene of the film. I know you have thoughts about Furiosa.
Yeah,
Ben?
I saw Furiosa recently, and I genuinely think it's the best film I've seen this year.
Wow, okay.
I think it's
Bold.
I think it's incredible. Like, I'd read a load of reviews saying it's 5 stars and blah 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 blah, and so I kind of went into it being like, oh, will it be as good as everybody's saying it is? It is as good as everyone is saying it is, and like, I think the best thing that it does is it's an amazing standalone film on its own, but what it also does is it makes Fury Road a better film. And I think I said this in a text to you guys that what I'm really looking forward to is watching the two back to back, because I think the two of them, like those two together, obviously the Mad Max universe is huge. It's got the Mel Gibson films from like the 80s and 90s, but those two together is like perfect storytelling. And like it's really weird. Like, don't get me wrong. In the same way that like Fury Road is really weird, it's like George Miller weirdness turned up to the max. Like loads of fucking crazy shit, but like somehow it works. And
In many ways, that film we just watched is very similar to Fury Road. It's a constant trip to another place to solve a problem with a battle on the way.
Yeah, Furiosa is quite similar. I think it's structured different. Obviously, like Fury Road is very much like it is kind of one constant action scene. Furiosa is broken into chapters, so there's like 5 chapters in the film, and so it's kind of clearly structured. But each kind of chapter is centered around some amazing kind of action, like set piece. And I think I said it to you guys in a text as well. Like I'd be interested, if anybody's listening to me talk about this, and I'd be interested to know other people's feedback, and I really would like you guys to see it and know what you think. It's like I watched the ending of it is like poetry.
Amazing.
It is like storytelling wise, there's like a voiceover towards the end of it, and I came out of it being like, that ending is perfect, like fucking perfect. Like I really think we should do an episode on it in future, like when it's out on DVD or something, or it's out on streaming, because the ending is incredible. Like blew my mind. I was like, fuck. It's weird, but also I was like, it is the perfect ending to that story, and those two kind of, the Mad Max, the Furiosa stories told together, and then obviously the two kind of lead directly into one another really well.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Can't wait to watch.
Blew my mind. Honestly, blew my mind. Also, what I will advise people maybe to watch or not watch was I watched Bodkin on Netflix.
I saw the
which
trailer.
is the Barack and Michelle Obama
Yeah.
produced TV show about a podcaster who goes to the west of Ireland to uncover a mystery of some Halloween festival.
I think I lasted half an episode.
Do you know what? It starts off, like the first 2 episodes are very good, and then it is a constant downhill to the end. Oh my God. Like I was kind of, the first 2 episodes, I was able to put up with the endless Irish stereotypes because I was like, do you know what? There's something interesting here.
Yeah.
This could be good. And by the end of it, I was like, I fucking hate this. This is
It's
so
offensive.
bad. It's so dull. You don't care about anybody in it. Like there is no like again, to go back to Lord of the Rings, you like in that movie where you get incredibly likable characters that you're willing to win and you want to know more about them. In Bodkin, there is nothing of interest of anyone. Everyone is either dull or an arsehole. And there's some really dreadful acting in it as well.
Yeah.
Actually, there's some really poor acting in it.
That's what really turned me off.
There's some really good performances from the Irish cast in it. I would say some of the poor acting is from some of the people who aren't Irish.
Right.
In it.
Yeah.
There is some good people who, if you watch Irish television or Irish films, you would recognise them from stuff, who are quite good in it. But in general, yeah, it's just fucking
Well,
weird.
the creators of Bodkin are gonna be happy they were in the same sentence as Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
I think that's high praise.
Not necessarily in the best way,
Not the
but
best
in
way,
the same
but,
sentence, yeah.
you know.
What does bodkin mean?
It's I don't know it. It's a place.
Okay.
It's like the name of the. It's a like fake name of the town in like it's very picturesque and like if you want to just watch a TV show set in the west of Ireland in nice picturesque little coastal villages, you know, fill your boots. If you cared in any way about story or interesting characters, do not watch it because it is dull as dishwater. What about you, say?
I got two films to talk about. One is Todd Haynes' Safe from 1995.
Yeah, you texted about this the other day.
You guys seen it?
No.
I enjoyed it. It's kind of a satire of what we now experience as the wellness revolution in a way.
Right.
This well-off family or sort of upper-class family in America in the 80s. And this lady's, her husband's quite wealthy, has a good job, but she basically has no purpose in life and just begins to get a bit ill and dwell on the symptoms of what she's feeling. And she ends up in this kind of wellness bullshit retreat. But at the same time, they're touching on AIDS, and there's some parallels to the AIDS explosion that happens during that era, and the kind of the unknowns about it, and the similarities between that and the symptoms of AIDS and what she was experiencing was quite close.
Yeah.
So I don't really quite understand what I watched, but it's worth a watch. I thought it was quite thought-provoking. And then the other one I watched was Paul Thomas Anderson's Punch Drunk Love with Adam Sandler.
Yes. I love that film.
Do you know what? I didn't love it.
Oh, really?
I wanted to like it because I loved how arty it was.
Yeah.
And I loved those interstitial pieces of like video art that were in there. But I just didn't laugh once during it and didn't really get into it.
Right. Okay.
I thought it was going to be like that. Really
I don't know if it was supposed to be funny or
Well, it said on Wikipedia that it was an absurdist comedy or absurdist romantic comedy.
Yeah, I think that's what they call every
I
PTA
love.
film.
It's one of those films where I love the look of it
Yeah.
visually, but I didn't love the content or the way it made me feel. But I know it's a lot of because my neighbour's an artist and he said he loved it and recommended it, and I can see why it would appeal. It's quite trippy.
Well, a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson films kind of are, aren't they?
Yeah, apparently I read that he got obsessed with making a film with Adam Sandler after making Magnolia, and then got introduced to him through like Tom Cruise or something, and then was able to make it. But
I thought Sandler was really good in that film.
yeah, he is good.
Yeah.
That was his first detour film from making comedies.
Oh, really?
Really?
And
Interesting.
showed the world that he could make something like art house and different. And
And then 20 years later, he makes Uncut Gems.
that's what I was hoping. I think I was going in from the angle of like, it's going to be a new Uncut Gems discovery.
Yeah.
And then for me, it's.
And I think since then, Murder Mystery 2 aside, I think he's done a couple of more serious films. Like it was the basketball one.
Yeah, I was just going to say he did a sports one, didn't he? Yeah, about like
So I
being
think
a
it was good.
basketball like scout or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I watched one more. I watched After Sun.
Oh, the Paul Mescal one.
Mescal one.
Was that any good?
I was really moved by it.
I
Actually.
loved it. It was
felt like
I haven't mentioned this before.
Dad and a young daughter, isn't it? No, you haven't, yeah.
So it's.
Well, I don't think we've talked about this film at all.
Yeah, so
I may have, maybe last year
I think
when I watched it.
you
Yeah,
mentioned
yeah.
it ages ago,
Yeah.
and then I didn't catch up on it until now. But it's to recap on probably what you said. I went into it thinking there's going to be an element of nostalgia in it, and it turns out the entire film is a rerun of a holiday video that this dad has shot on his film camera on a holiday with his daughter who's about 11, 10. And the entire film is a recut of their holiday video, really. And it's just about their relationship and then his depression that you realise sort of creeping in halfway through the film. And it's really, really
He was
moving.
nominated for an Oscar, wasn't he, Paul Mescal, for that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
The music's
Yeah,
amazing.
it was. I think it took over the internet when it came out.
Yeah.
I'm probably really
Yeah.
behind the times in it, but comparing it to Lord of the Rings, in that we were just discussing how we were actually enjoying the exposition in it. There's none of that in
None of
After
that.
Sun. You really have to think about it, and it makes it all the more powerful. It's very subtle.
And also-
it's very gentle, but
Yeah.
it's very powerful because it's gentle.
And it doesn't have a beginning, middle, and end. It doesn't have like, it's one straight line in a way, and then it hits you in the end.
Yeah.
So it's not for everyone.
And
but
it's got one of my favorite endings of all time
Yeah,
in it. I
it's
don't
incredible.
know if we can talk about it, but it's very, very clever, the ending.
yeah.
I'll have to watch it.
In
We can do
terms
an
of
episode, maybe.
It's a very simple ending, but the way that the camera shot works in the end, and then it's a surreal ending. I describe it as it's kind of like going into his brain, but in a very subtle way. It's cool.
Okay.
It's autobiographical as well.
Yeah.
So the direct, I can't remember her
It's a
name.
beautiful ending.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was her debut film, wasn't it? The director. Yeah.
Yeah, 10.
Yeah.
Well, 9 out of 10. Brilliant.
Nice.
9 out of
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
Pretty high scoring.
Great. I know.
Yeah, it just took me by surprise.
Nice. What about you,
Well,
Sophie?
I'm gonna give also a very quick, outdated, reviews-less reaction of House of the Dragon. I finally saw. I mean,
Oh, did you finally watch it?
I didn't even. I haven't finished it yet. I'm halfway through.
You prepping to watch season 2?
I'm prepping to watch. I'm having series FOMO, and I'm like, I need to get on it because it was supposed to be good. I just think I was burned by season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And I had a bit of Game of Thrones fatigue. Also because I worked on it, I was like, I'm not sure I'm ready for it. Incest again, like the same old stuff.
And it goes straight in there.
It goes straight in there.
Oh, shit.
And it goes straight in there. But I didn't expect to like it so much.
I think it's great. It is
The
great.
incest-
I mean, not the incest shocked me, but
When it's
you know
incest
what?
done by Matt Smith, it's everything feels okay, you know?
I think I've talked in the past about how my brain has a very hard time stay focused with films that have a lot of world building, which is what
Yeah.
I felt in the first 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. I think I finally got Game of Thrones season 3. It took me 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And what I love about House of the Dragon is the fact that it feels smaller. As it's not as, complicated in terms of lore and people and background and, what you get with the seven kingdoms
Seven
of
Kingdoms,
Game of
yeah.
Thrones. So I really like that it's much more rooted in like, here are the 5 key characters and here's like
Yeah.
all the backstabbing that's going on, which again, it's very
Backstabbing
signature.
and sister shagging.
Yeah, exactly. But
Have they just taken the incest storyline from Game of Thrones and then extended it into another
So it's
series?
it's essentially it's a prequel. Basically, there was all this lore from like Game of Thrones of these where the dragons came from and all that kind of jazz. And this is
Yeah.
basically
Is it
gone.
Khaleesi's dragons?
Yes, Khaleesi. It's Khaleesi's ancestors. Yeah, it's essentially the TV show. All the blonde-haired people.
yeah, there's a lot of blonde wig
Yeah.
action happening and acting.
Really good wig action in that.
Really wig action.
Really good wig work. Yeah.
And I'm impressed by the 2 ladies. Both.
Yes.
I mean, I've only seen 1 episode with the older version of them.
Oh wow! So you're only like 3 episodes,
No,
3 or 4
6.
episodes in?
6.
Was it that late when
I
the older
know.
ones come into it?
I know. I thought it was gonna be
I
earlier
mean,
as
the
well.
young ones were really good in it, though. The
That's
2
like I was so
younger
impressed by
actresses.
them. They
Yeah.
were so good. And
Is it
then
Millie Alcock is the one with the blonde hair, and I can't remember the other girl.
Emma Darcy and Olivia
Emma
Cook.
Darcy
Yeah,
and Olivia Cook are
Olivia
the older
Cook is
ones.
amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've only seen 1 episode with them, and yeah, I'm just really
So
love
you
what I'm.
have. I look forward to you watching the episode where you are going to think the contrast on your television has been turned down. It is not. It is just the most darkly lit episode of television you have ever seen in your life. You will need to turn the brightness up on your television to 100 to try
We
and
are
see what
so
is going
back,
on.
baby. We are
And-
so back.
And
That's
I'll-
Game
and
of Thrones.
To be
through and
perfectly
through.
honest, I think the reason they turn the contrast down is because if you think it's incesty now, you just wait. It gets worse. It gets so much worse.
Loving it. You can't even.
I
hide
thought
it.
I thought House of the. To be fair, I did think I was pleasantly surprised by House of the Dragon because I think I was similar to you. I was kind of like, I really didn't like that last season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like, am I done with it? Do I need a spin off? But
Yeah.
actually, I think they hired a really solid cast. So like Paddy Considine's in it. You know Paddy Considine from like Tyrannosaur. Matt Smith's in it as well. Reese Ifans is in it. Like obviously the younger actors in it, like Olivia Cook and Emma Darcy, are amazing. But they also have this kind of like cast of like senior actors as well who are all incredible.
Yeah.
Like they're so good. And like, yeah, like Matt Smith is
he's,
amazing. In it.
cunning.
Like fucking choose the scenery. Like he's
I think
so
he's
good.
meant to be a baddie. I mean, even though I
Yeah.
love him as Doctor Who, like he's meant to be a baddie. Like he just,
Yeah, he is. And that character is like perfect for him.
Yeah.
Like perfect for him, yeah.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
But as you were speaking, I also thought that probably at the time when it came out, I was also semi-burned by Rings of Power.
Yeah, was it similar timing, was it?
Yeah. So 2 prequels of iconic franchise, and I'm like, if this one is so bad, I don't want to go back to the prequel world. But yeah, I'm really glad I did.
It's probably because we've just watched Fellowship, but I'm kind of like, should I go back and give Rings of Power another try? Should I do it and watch it in one go? Because I also think that I think one of the reasons I struggled with Rings of Power was because it was weekly episodes, and I think it's the kind of TV show because it's quite dense.
That's true.
Wait, is this not the one you hated and you slated?
I think I slated Halo more. It was a soft hate. I was watching both at the same time.
Why do you want to like it though?
Because
why you just leave it be?
Because I love Lord of the Rings so much, so I want to give it another chance. And I think and thinking back on it, I think one of the reasons I struggled with it so much is because most TV shows at the start of the episodes like here's a recap from last week, but it's so dense. Like there is so much going on. Like it doesn't do the exposition that like Fellowship does in that. Well, or if it does, there's a lot to go on, and it's like Game of Thrones style where there's lots of different people, lots of different places. And actually, maybe if I watched it again, it'd be better. So
I remember I even used to find that map of Game of Thrones a bit stressful because like there's no way I can contain in my brain like all the stuff going on in this map.
Yeah.
No. Okay, so there's that when it comes to records. I want to go back to Lord of the Rings.
I feel like we need to have Boromir's horn come in now, just start to bring us back.
It's quite out of tune, that wasn't it?
The big horn.
I was like drifting off at one point, and then the horn came in, and I thought it was like a lorry or something. It sounded like a truck.
How dare you say that about the Horn of Gondor?
I think this film is hard to do the final scene because there's not too much to it.
I wasn't even ready for it. I didn't even realize I was
you thought it was going to keep going.
I think that's exactly what we should talk about, like your reaction. So Ben, maybe you can give us like a quick recap of the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean the last 20 minutes. I mean it's like action packed.
It was full adventure mode, wasn't it?
Yeah, and
it's Boromir, I guess, is that.
Yeah, so like I mean the main there's kind of a couple of main. So obviously the Uruk-hai, as they're called, which is a fabulous name, are sent to find the Fellowship and blah blah blah, and this is a culmination of that. It gets to the end. It's quite quick actually, like from those creatures being created to then this big scene that comes up. Like that's quite a good thing. I feel like in another film they'd probably give it another hour. And there's more going on and all this kind of shit. But
fourth hour.
Yeah, we just director's cut, man. We just get to it, and it's there, and it's this big battle scene on a hilltop, and it's where they all split up because, it would be too easy to keep them all together and everybody's happy and gets to Mordor and destroys the ring. There needs to be something that splits them up, and Frodo's aware that he needs to go and do it on his own because being with the rest of them, there's the likelihood that you'll be corrupted by it.
Boromir gets a bit corrupted.
Boromir gets a little bit handsy, he tries to take the ring from Frodo, but, instantly.
It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, but like it's like you said earlier in the film, like in relation to Bilbo, it's like they're like heroin addicts.
And
it's like a thing of like I need it,
yeah, in a way.
And it, the folly of man, as they constantly
It's
call
a
it.
Frodo left a toxic relationship.
Yeah. And he goes on to live on his heteronormative relationship with Sam for the next 2 movies, which just that bond grows stronger and stronger. And then obviously there's the context of, well, they've been sent to find Frodo, and they end up taking Simon's 2 favourite named characters.
Oh, is it Peregrine Took?
It is Peregrine. They take Peregrine Took and Meriadoc Brandybuck
That's the only note you
instead.
took. I love it.
Yeah, they take Merry and Pippin instead, and that obviously then sets us up with something for the next film for Aragorn, Legolas and Gimli to go after. But obviously, the big kind of ending is Boromir's death and his, I think there's also something else in it, and I think it becomes more apparent in other films, but it's the first time, and it's easy to say this because obviously knowing the other 2 films, it's the first time Aragorn references or is kind of accepting of who he is towards the end of the film. It's the first time that he admits that, like, I won't let I think he says our city fall. And that's quite a big thing for him because he's pushing against who he's supposed to be for, most of that film. And this is the kind of first turning point to, like, will we start to see him, become the heir that he is supposed to be? And you just get like a minute of that, and then he stands up, and there's like a ray of light shining down on his face. It's quite like as a single tear falls down his face. It's quite like a Jesus savior-esque ending. Even the way he looks was like
Money
the long
shot,
hair and the
yeah.
beard, and yeah, it's a very fast-paced ending. I can understand why you thought it was going to keep going, because it stops quite abruptly.
Well, because the rhythm up until then is very much hard adventuring, then a little
Yeah.
rest, then a bit more, then another fight scene, and it was
Yeah.
hard to understand when it was going to take a big pause.
Yeah,
It ends peacefully though.
It was really peaceful. It was like a really
Yeah.
gentle landing, and that music came in that sounded a bit like the theme tune of Titanic.
yeah, the flutes.
With the sort of
Oh, we should
Celtic-
play that.
Yeah,
If
Or
we
is it
can.
Scottish sort of?
yeah, those kind of
Yeah.
like tin whistles and stuff.
Yeah, it's lovely. Actually,
Yeah.
it's quite relaxing.
I think it worked because we just witnessed like a big death when you think about
Yeah.
it. Like Boromir was one of the main protagonists in the Fellowship, so to give us a bit of a moment, I think, as an audience, as opposed to like leaving it as a cliffhanger, like the
it didn't feel
beheading and
cliffhangery at
it no, and I love that. It was kind of subtle.
And it's like, I mean, it is like, as you say, it is quite up and down. It comes and goes, and like it especially like, Gandalf dies,
Right.
like that, like hits you really hard, and then it slows down again, and then it speeds up again, and then it slows down again. Whereas now it's like, okay, cut, and you're done. But as you say, it's almost like it fades out. It's like it fades
I
to
think
black
it's-
almost. Like it does this kind of very like nice kind of slow taking you out of it. We know, and also there's no ambiguity about where people are
No.
going. We know where Frodo's going. We know where the other three are going.
Also,
we know what the plan is.
The wide shot that's happening while you're putting all that together in your head is a very lovely, relaxing shot of beautiful scenery of New Zealand.
Yeah.
So that also sort of frames it as this quite peaceful moment.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I think this is why the credits work, because to your point, you almost expect the next scene. Oh, and there they go.
Yeah, and then there's another.
Yeah, which creates like a beautiful contrast.
yeah.
Go
Which is what is
cut
quite
to
nice
black.
about the three of them, and you'll see this when we watch the second one. But there's no like, 2 months later. It is
Right,
literally
yeah.
we start the second film where we left off in the first one. There is no like, a few days later or any of that shit. It is literally like the three films are a complete like continuation of one another.
So you could cut them into one film easily if you wanted.
Yeah, 100% you could. And maybe I will. Maybe I will. At some point, I will just get into Premiere Pro and I will cut the three. I will take the credits out. I'll cut three of them together.
So wait, was
And I
Lord
will-
of the Rings in your Desert Island DVDs?
I don't know if it was.
Why
I don't
wasn't
think it was.
If you love it so much.
I think because I haven't watched it in quite a while, I've forgotten kind of how highly I hold these films and how nostalgic I am for them. I also think they've aged really well.
Yeah.
Like for a
Yeah.
film that came out in 2001, I
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily say, obviously a lot of it is because they shot it in New Zealand. A lot of the backgrounds are just the mountains and the
Yeah.
forests of New Zealand.
Yeah.
But the CGI that's in it doesn't look that shonky compared to some shit that you get.
Totally.
And like, again, the prosthetics look amazing. And, obviously some of the actors all still look the same. I would argue that like Dominic Monaghan, who plays Merry, has not changed a bit. And Elijah Wood looks the exact same, apart from that he has facial hair now. Like they all look the exact same. I think it's aged really well. And interesting for you, so like, that film's 23 years old and this is the first time you've seen it, but it doesn't I don't know, does it feel dated to you in any way? I guess fantasy's hard to feel dated because
yeah.
it's not set in a modern time, but
It's rather than being of an era, it's of a trope, isn't it?
yeah.
But the thing that probably dates it for me is there's very, very few female actresses,
True.
actors
Yeah.
in it. Probably, what is it, 95% male? or
Oh,
something?
yeah.
That would probably be different now, wouldn't it? If they were to remake that now.
Yeah.
Well, they have, and I think that,
right.
as in, I think Rings of Power is much more diverse,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like from a gender and race perspective.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And the music's quite of an era, I guess.
I love the music.
Yeah,
I have to say.
so
I think
good.
it's, I think it's fantastic.
It's so relentless. Like
Yeah.
the amount of minutage of music is just
Yeah, I
solid.
did. There's. I think it was really noticeable. There was a certain point in the film, and I can't remember, but it was. I remember being like, oh, hang on, there's no music playing. There was one
Yeah.
scene where something had happened and there's nothing playing in the background, and it was so noticeable because even if you're not getting that relentless like pounding, there is like some kind of undercurrent through quite a lot of the film. As you say, like, I mean, the score in itself must be like thousands of pages long because for a 2 hour 50-minute film.
Did you expect Gandalf to die?
No, I didn't. I presumed he would just keep, he'd go fall down the pit and then
He would come.
he would fly up on the back of a massive eagle or something. But
Yeah, the Eagles don't save him again there, yeah.
I think it's one of the few characters in movie history that has had, well, I'm not saying he didn't have enough screen time, but he's only in that film, and in a way, let's say, based on what you know so far, and you would think that it would make more of a lasting.
Yeah. I think he does leave a lasting impression though, and like even of like you said, the Simon, of like the kind of memeable characters in it.
Right.
yeah,
I think
the That Shall Not Pass.
You
movie,
Shall Not
or
Pass
You Shall Not
is
Pass, yeah.
like one of the most iconic lines in cinema history.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
Ian McKellen still shouts that. That's his whole thing. He goes and does talks at schools, and his big line is, "If you don't revise for your revisions, what will happen?" And then he like screams it at them. There's a brilliant video of him doing it. It's so good. But like,
Is that the one where he's banging on the window?
yeah, he's leaning. He's leaning out the
Seen
window
that.
and shouting at the kids, and they all go, "Ah!" It's such a good video. It's genius.
But I mean, you realize that every single one of, those people have iconic memes, like still to this day. It's just amazing,
and
like the
people talk
cultural
about-
impact.
I hear people at work referencing Frodo.
Right.
I've never known what that meant until today.
Yeah, like there's
I didn't really
Yeah.
resonate with Frodo that much. Like
No,
No, and I don't think you do. And actually, and I think, and you'll again throwing forward to the other two films, I think you'll find this. I definitely find this when I watch them. You will resonate with Sam more than you resonate with Frodo. Sam is a much more he's kind of becomes the hero of the story in a way. Like you'll see how it plays out. He becomes, a very integral part of the film. He's the one who I said that he has a line in the third film that I already know when we watch it, I am going to burst into tears. I can hear the line. It's the most inane line. It's towards the end of the film, but it is so like perfectly delivered because it's so like you kind of see it in the first film as well. Like he builds it up to there's such naivety about Sam. And like of all of them, like okay, they don't really know what they're getting themselves in for, but Sam is the one that feels like it's the most. And you have it at the start when he has that scene of like when him and Frodo leave, and it's like he has to stop because he's like, well, if I take one more step, this is like the furthest I've ever gone from home, and it's such a big thing for him. And I think like he grows a lot over the three films and becomes, I would say, like one of my favorites in it. I think.
Yeah, I think there is something to that hero journey storytelling where the main character is more often than not the fan favorite.
Well,
so
Paul
Frodo,
Atreides.
Harry Potter, Paul from Dune, even Skywalker. Like I don't think he was a fan favorite.
No, Han Solo is the fan favorite.
Yeah.
In the same way that, like, for a lot of people, Aragorn is their favorite from this.
It's almost like they are the
Gandalf,
vehicle to the world, and we just have to deal with them. Even though, to be fair, I don't find Frodo annoying, even though I find Paul very annoying.
Yeah,
Frodo, I almost
100%.
feel sorry for him. I'm like, Jesus, like...
Yeah, the
Why?
weight of this entire thing
Yeah.
being put on his shoulders.
He does choose that, but there's a bit of a martyr about him, which is
that's true.
slightly grating. But
kind of a victim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
victim.
I'll take it. Yeah, true.
I think he wears that well, though, and I think it's a good
I agree.
performance of a because I think, like, and I don't know what this says about Timothée Chalamet. I think Elijah Wood's performance could have been annoying.
Yeah.
Like another actor could have made him quite annoying as a character, like in the delivery and stuff like that, and even like in the lines that he doesn't deliver, like in the bits where he's kind of like sitting in the background as this really like peripheral character to all these big men talking about big men things to destroy. Like, he could have faded into the background quite a lot or been a little bit annoying, and like, but there is I don't know, there's something believable about, like, I can understand why they all want to protect him and follow him.
Yeah, I'm sure
And,
I'm sure a lot went into the production of him as well, because as you said earlier, like he looks like an angel kid, like he's just so
found him-
fragile,
he's like a
like
cherub.
fragile.
I don't know
Yeah,
if it's your HD TV, but his skin is just madly smooth.
Yeah.
It just looked strange. It was a bit much actually for me.
maybe it was smooth. Maybe it was smooth a bit. I don't know.
It just looked like it was kind of almost a blur on
I think that's what they were trying to do, to show like
They
the
are these
innocence.
childlike creatures.
cherubs or something.
Yeah, exactly, and they do that in Rings of Power as well. The Hobbits
Yeah,
are,
they
or
do.
at least earlier iterations of the Hobbits are in Rings of Power as well. and they are seen as this. They're a bit more. I don't know. There's a couple of them that are a bit more like, quite like cherub, like, you know, big rosy cheeks and kind of stuff like that, and very like child like, which I think they do a good job of in that.
Yeah.
But then again, the other hobbits aren't like that. I wouldn't say Sam or Merry and Pippin are like that.
No, I think they want to make him look
But I guess
special.
they want
like,
to make him look angelic, like, you know, a messiah kind of figure.
Yeah. Protect the diamond.
Yeah.
Yeah. At all costs.
Yeah, exactly. Where do you see it going, Simon? That's the question.
Well, the ring's going to get dropped into the volcano.
I know, but are there any other, like...
Why didn't Gandalf just get a bird to do it?
Well, as I said, this is... So Simon,
great question.
Simon said this as soon as the bird thing happened, and I had to point out to him that it is probably the biggest piece of Lord of the Rings discourse that happens online. And it is the most thing that people comment of, like, why the fuck didn't they just fly there in the first place? No, you are not the first person to say that. It is a very big online thing of, like, why the fuck didn't he just fly there in the first place and drop it straight in?
With films like this is my biggest pitfall, is this, you know, being able to suspend your disbelief is what you need to do to enjoy these films.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have like superhero films where you know the baddie could exercise one of their superpowers at this moment to win, but they don't, and you're like, what? Why isn't this happening?
They need to have a monologue first. Yeah.
Exactly. Before I kill you.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings is very much about the journey, I would say. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry, I'm more so mean, do you have any character predictions, shall we say? What do you think is going to happen to our, 7 that are left?
I was really surprised that Sean Bean's character Boromir died, because I thought he was going to be the sort of senior lead when it came to sort of protecting Harry Potter. So
protecting Daniel Radcliffe.
As you know, I'm not a massive reader, so I haven't read this book.
Yeah.
I mean, I by saying that, are you suggesting that there could be some swapping around and the focus changes to a different character in the second and third films?
I don't think the focus changes.
We've lost quite a few people now.
Yeah, we've lost a good few.
We've lost Gandalf, who's a mega...
And we also haven't seen some personalities, or like we haven't seen them much. Obviously, the Gollum. I'm sorry?
No.
Oh.
So we haven't seen Gollum yet.
Yeah.
There's also some fairly major, the second...
The mega body.
Yeah, yeah. The second one also does a lot more world building as well. Like, you're kind of, like, at the start of the movie, you know, the way you see the map and, like, the whole thing burning across the map. There's a lot more of that map to discover, which it's interesting. The kind of 3 films are split into the kind of 3 different areas of the map in a way. So the second film focuses quite a lot on a different area, which is mentioned in the first one. It's a line is thrown away to it. And then the third one focuses on another kind of place as well, which is quite interesting.
So we hope our listeners are huge fans, because they're going to get a lot more Lord of the Rings discourse in the next couple of...
If you're not, why are you listening?
Exactly.
If you've joined into an episode called Fellowship of the Ring, why bother?
And if for whatever reason, like Simon, haven't watched Lord of the Rings, this is a great way to do it with us. Every couple of weeks, come back and discuss...
Wait, how long is this going on for?
There'll be 2 more episodes.
Yeah, you're talking like it's going to be like months.
It's 2 more. No, but it's every 2 weeks.
Then you're going to be like, right, we're doing the TV show.
Well, no.
Every week we'll do a new episode.
Cancelling any other material.
Not.
This is purely becoming a Tolkien Lord of the Rings based
but I think
podcast.
Some people, I don't know, maybe Michael hasn't, I don't know. I feel like there are some people that are not into like committing into something like this. So this is a great opportunity to do it, with us.
And maybe next time what we can do is there's a couple of bits in the next movie that I want to get your reaction to. So maybe we can record some sound bites as we watch next time.
Okay.
To add some bits and pieces in.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Maybe we should bring a couple of clips as well.
Yes.
Okay, so
Sounds
we'll
good.
see you in a couple of weeks with the Dark Towers. Right?
2 towers.
The 2 towers.
The Dark Tower.
Well,
Dark Tower is like another movie, isn't it?
I need to go to bed. I need to go to bed. I'm ready for sleep.
Yeah.
Have a great day, night, wherever you may be. Goodbye.
See ya.
Bye.
Did you like it? Did you like that?
Did I like it? I loved it.
I had no idea you could milk a cat.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.